Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Sam Mandel. He is a mental health advocate and an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thank you, Ajay, for having me.
You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form. I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about how to stay healthy in a difficult world in today's time. So my first understanding, I want to understand from you, Sam, is that you are an entrepreneur. Why do you talk so much about mental health, and then you have different ways of how one can take care of them? I want to understand a bit of your background so that people, our audience, can understand why you are talking what you are talking.
Yeah, mental health is a personal matter for me. I've had, so many friends and family who have struggled. And, as I've grown, I've learned how valuable mindset and mental health is. They say health is wealth, and it's true. And mental health is wealth. And your mindset and how you are mentally is everything. Because you can have all the material comfort in the world, but if you're not happy because of other factors or internal trauma, struggle, things that you're dealing with, it doesn't matter how much money in the bank, what kind of house, what kind of car, none of that means anything if your mindset isn't right. And some of the richest people in the world are the most miserable, and some of the poorest people in the world are the most happy. So I think that in Western society, we're so focused on external stimulus and on materialism. And in reality, those things have very, very, very little impact on our overall joy and satisfaction in life. So mental health is super critical. I'll also just add quickly that it's the leading cause of disability in the world is depression. And issues with mental health are on the rise, and they cause all kinds of problems with addiction, suicide, accidents, disability claims, and the list goes on and on and on, expenses to the healthcare system. To taxpayers. So there's so many things that mental health is involved. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say it's involved in everything.
Right. Mental health is involved in everything. So I want to understand from you about, is mental health only about taking external help, or can you become better by using your own natural methods? Because you are the CEO of Ketamine clinics, if I'm pronouncing it correct. I want to understand what you do at your clinic. How do you take care of mental health issues? What are the type of issues that people come to you, and can they take care of those things themselves?
Yeah, Ajay, I mean, first and foremost, we really need people, and everyone needs to participate in their own healing and their own wellness. No one should be going to a doctor or a healer or anyone else for that matter with the intention of being fixed by them. We don't advocate for that, and I don't think that's a good approach. So definitely, it's critical for people to practice good health and wellness habits, getting adequate sleep every night, eating healthy, in good nutrition, fitness and exercise, participating in talking therapy, or at least having people who you can trust and confide in and share, what's really going on in your life and in your mind, and other habits as well. So yeah, good sleep, intimate, healthy relationships, social relationships, right? So these are some of the pillars of wellness. Now, for a lot of people, unfortunately, even if they try to focus on those things, they are struggling. And they're struggling because they have a clinical depression, PTSD, anxiety, or something else that's going on that's gotten to the point, for whatever reason, that it's become unmanageable for them to deal with on their own. And that's when professional help is needed. And that's when we come in. So even after we assist people with these issues, we still encourage them to participate in their own wellness and to do these healthy habits, practice these healthy habits, though they often need help. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. As a matter of fact, it takes a lot of courage to reach out and say, hey, I'm at a point now where I really need someone else to help me to get things in order, for myself. So, that's a good question. What we do at my clinic is I'm a co-founder and CEO of Ketamine Clinics Los Angeles. We've been around for 10 years now in the United States. We're based in LA, on the west side of town, and we provide IV infusions of ketamine for mental health. Ketamine infusion therapy is really the fastest acting, safest, and most effective depression treatment available today, and a lot of people haven't heard of it. So I'm grateful for you and the opportunity to have a platform to share, where people can learn and better understand what this really breakthrough therapy is, how it works. It's literally life-saving for most people. We have an 83% success rate, works in a matter of days, no long-term side effects. And it's IV infusions of the medicine ketamine in the clinic. So it's a different model than just taking a pill every day at home. And it is much more effective than really any of the prescription pills out there. We've also expanded to include other services over the last year and a half, but we still are primarily focused on ketamine infusions because they just work so well.
Right, Sam. To understand what exactly is this, if it's a new sort of a thing, ketamine, what exactly is ketamine? I don't know anything about it, and I
Mhm.
don't know if many people know in this part of the world. So, a bit of an audience is also in India, though this is a global show. So, help us understand what this is all about and what is the process. Like, if I have an issue with mental health or depression or whatever, my doctor or my physician or a therapist say, then how do you progress from that stage to coming to you, and how do you assess those people whether they are fit for this? Help us a bit of understand, so that we understand what this new thing is all about. I know you are talking with all earnestness, but for the sake of my audience, I also have to ensure that what we are talking is also easy for them to digest as well as understand.
Sure, yeah, of course. So ketamine is actually an old medicine. It's not new, though this treatment and this way that we're utilizing it is a newer application. So ketamine is an FDA approved medicine. It was FDA approved in 1970 as an anesthetic to be used to put people to sleep for surgery. It's also used in veterinary medicine as a horse tranquilizer or a cat tranquilizer. So a lot of people know of it as that. But it is a human medicine. It's also used in pain medicine, used for a pain reliever as an analgesic. So it has a lot of different uses. But in the last 20 years, it's been proven to be extremely effective in treating mental health, depression, PTSD, anxiety, suicidality, etc. So with that is a much smaller dose than is traditionally used for surgery, and it's an IV infusion. And that's what we specialize in my clinic. So patients are conscious and awake the whole time. They're not asleep. And they have this kind of dissociative slash psychedelic almost experience where they're able to get profound healing, both through the neurochemical processes that are going on in the brain, the effects that the medicine is having in the brain, and then also the experiential component, the psychological component of what people are processing during this experience.
Right, Sam. Uh, who recommends this sort of a therapy? Is it a therapist, clinical psychologist? I hope I'm using the right words, or maybe correct me wherever I am not correct. Who
Yeah,
recommends this? How do they? Obviously, you are not a doctor, and so they don't. You don't recommend them, if I understand. How do they come to you? Can they come to you directly and go for this sort of a thing? I want to understand. I know these laws are different in different parts of the world. In the US, it might be different, but I have to be very cautious that whatever information we are sharing, people understand as per their laws also.
sure. Yeah. So I am the co-founder and CEO. I'm not a doctor. I co-founded the practice with my father, who is a physician. He's an anesthesiologist with a master's in psychology. And now, after a long time of being just the two of us in the company, we've grown it to a team of 17 people. So we have a couple of psychiatrists who work for us. We have psychiatric nurse practitioners, physician assistants, registered nurses. These are all people on the clinical team who can help to recommend, assess, diagnose, treat, etc. So I'm really here just to help to raise awareness, educate people, and to speak about what we do and how things work at the clinic and educate people in a basic sense. I am not here to diagnose or treat anyone. And we do in the United States require a physician to make the diagnosis and to set up the treatment plan. There are some states where a advanced level practitioner can do that, like a psychiatric nurse practitioner, for example, might be able to make that diagnosis and actually initiate treatment and own their own company and not need to partner with a physician. Most states require a physician. Again, the US is a pretty big place. So there are laws that are both federal and then state by state and even city and county. So it's not even that simple in navigating healthcare within the US, let alone as it might compare to other countries. And yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely. What about side effects? And how do we know that there is no other alternative than to get this sort of a treatment? Is it that other treatments don't work that they come to you, or is it that it goes along with the original treatment recommended by physician in whatever way it is? I want to understand in that aspect, as well as any side effects that you think or of that patients need to be aware of.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's actually no known long-term side effects, none. Short-term are very minimal. Things like feeling a little nauseated, fatigued, maybe a little dizzy, minor headache. These are things that go away usually after a full night of sleep. So very, very short term. We're talking just on the day of treatment. They don't happen to everyone every time, but those are some of the things that can happen. I'd say nausea happens at around 20% of the time. So minimal on the minority of patients, but it can. And we provide medicine for that when we need to. When patients are feeling unwell in that way, we can give them some medicine. And usually that'll take it away within 10, 15 minutes. There's really no other significant or noteworthy short-term side effects. It's very safe, very effective. People have this treatment because they either have not benefited from other treatments. They if they've tried enough of them, they start to be kind of labeled as treatment resistant. And actually, as time goes on and as they try more and more, medications, the chances of them benefiting actually go down a lot. And so ketamine has a completely different mechanism of action. It works by a totally different process on both the brain and the mind. And so it can work when nothing else does. This is one of the things that makes it pretty cool. It's unique. It's very, very different from everything else that's on the market today. Sometimes people don't want to take a pill every day. They don't want to be dependent on a drug. We do a series of 6 infusions over 3 weeks, and then they don't need to come back for months, sometimes for many months, and they don't need to take medicine every day. So this is like a shorter term treatment cycle for longer term benefits. So a lot of people are drawn to it for that reason. Also, most of the conventional medications that we have, SSRIs, SNRIs, antipsychotics, these medications, they produce really, really negative side effects. Things like weight gain, loss of libido, dry mouth, blurred vision, increased suicidal thinking. These are all really, really difficult side effects to deal with, and they're fairly common on these drugs, especially the weight gain and loss of libido. When you take someone who's already depressed, who's already feeling hopeless and worthless and helpless, which is the kind of primary trifecta of the symptoms of depression, and then you make them fat and not want to have sex or not capable of having sex, it's not really going to help their mood, So these are really ugly side effects that people either don't want to have to deal with or they're tired of dealing with. So these are some of the other reasons why they would choose to have a treatment like ketamine therapy instead of the more traditional modalities.
Right. What is the longest duration till this particular treatment has worked when the patient did not need to come? 3 months, 6 months, year? How long? What was the longest duration for in your case, in your patients?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I'm glad you asked. So the longest we've seen is we've had a handful of patients go more than 2 years, which is a big deal. 2 years with no additional treatment or follow-up of any kind, and they felt great. I mean, that's pretty incredible and unusual. And it happened with more than just one or two. We've had at least 5, 6 patients that has been the case for that we're aware of. That is, those are outliers. Those are an exception, not the rule. We've had patients on the extreme other end go for just a few weeks. They only benefited for a few weeks and their symptoms came back. That's also unusual, but it's definitely possible. The average is somewhere in the middle, generally around 3 months that people have relief before symptoms start to come back. And then they can do a pair of booster infusions as maintenance, which can extend the benefit for another 3, 4 months and so on. As time goes on, people don't need to come back as often. They actually come back less over time. So if they have a series of infusions and they return 3 months later for 2 follow-up infusions, they might come back 4 or 5 months later for another pair of infusions. And then 5 or 6 months after that, they might get on a schedule where they're only coming in twice a year for ongoing maintenance. So it's a really good treatment program that people are coming back less and less as they're getting more and more benefit from each of their follow-up visits. Again, average though, 3 months, and it really does depend on how much people are going to embrace the lifestyle recommendations in our aftercare plan that we make for them, such as the pillars of wellness we were talking about: good sleep, good nutrition, good fitness, talk therapy, healthy intimate relationship. These things make a huge difference.
Right, Sam. Is it addictive? Because patients might be also taking advice from their therapist, and the therapist tries for, for say depression or anything lesser than the higher stage of mental problems or mental health. They would like to wean them off everything else and boost them in a natural way. If they go for this, does it become addictive? And even though other issues might get resolved, this addiction may put them in another sort of a difficult situation. So I want to understand for the patients.
Yeah, ketamine is not addictive. There are people who use it recreationally as Special K, as a street drug, same medicine. In different contexts, it's not really medicine, it's more a drug. There are people who will use it as a means of escape, but it is not addictive in the sense that they will become physically dependent upon it. It's not addictive like nicotine or alcohol or opioids or many of the other substances that we have today. It's not addictive in that way, but some people can use it as a means to escape, just like people can use sex or chocolate or ice cream as a means of escape, right? So that is something that's important for people to recognize. When it's used in a clinical setting, in a controlled environment, administered by a doctor, like in our case, there's been no cases of addiction or people drug seeking or craving it. It just doesn't affect people in that way.
Right, Sam. Right. You are a young man. You are the CEO of this clinic of yours. You know, what do you like about what you do? And what is it that, if there is one, that you don't like about what's happening? Because it also reflects the growing problems in the world. So I want to understand from you in that aspect.
Yeah, what I like about what I do is I get to see and be a part of helping to create transformation for people and literally save their lives. And it's amazing. Even though I'm not providing the direct care, I'm not a clinician, I'm part of creating the system and helping to bring in the people and empower the people to do that work and help to bring in the patients so they can benefit from that work. And it's extremely gratifying. It's really, the stories are very inspiring, and it's literally life-saving for so many people. So that feels really good. The better I do my job, the more people who have a meaningful, positive improvement in their life. So it really is a win-win. And I like that. And it's very motivating for me. And what I dislike is the red tape and bureaucracy of the institutions that we have to deal with in healthcare in the United States, from the regulatory agencies to the insurance companies and on. The amount of money and time and energy that we spend just working to be compliant and following all of the laws and doing what we're supposed to be doing is exhausting, very draining. And it feels very wasteful, it feels very unnecessary. There's so much of the things that we are required to do that are, consuming resources that we would like to spend elsewhere if we could, to do more good for people and to grow the company more, especially the insurance agencies, or not agencies, but the insurance networks, the healthcare companies, insurance companies in the United States are just awful. Trying to contract with them and work with them, they make it so difficult, so time consuming, so complicated and complex, and it's just awful.
Right, Sam. And what about, you are, as I said, you are so young. When you see all these young people, not so young people, people who have served in the armed forces, people who have served in different capacities, going through such issues in their lives, and they have to come and seek, some advanced treatment. On one hand, it might mean more business for you. On the other hand, it also reflects the type of society that we are creating for the young generation, for the older generation, for whoever it is. Sometimes I'm sure that is not a very comfortable thought. I would never like to be, in a situation like this and not feel bad about it. It can happen, sometimes it can happen to anybody. Some at that point in time you think, why can't people take better care of themselves? Why do they get into situations where they can avoid such difficult things, either in terms of the environment they work in, either in terms of relationships they create, either in terms of the type of people that they are around, whether in offices or in work, or in, at their personal uh, personal places of residence. So I want to understand, what would you like to tell people that they don't have to come to situations like this, that they can do things for themselves that can boost their mental health as well as wellness overall?
Yeah, Ajay, I mean, I've, talked about some of those key pillars of wellness that people can do to take good care of themselves. The fact of the matter is, we have a lot of trauma, a lot of suffering in this world, and a lot of circumstances that are really very hard to navigate. And so if people are struggling, I encourage them to reach out and ask for help. I wouldn't say that they should go figure out how to do it on their own. If they really are having a hard time, they should seek help. They should get guidance from friends, family, from professionals, mental health professionals. And if they need treatment, they should have treatment. So I don't want people to feel discouraged from reaching out and asking for help, or that if they do, that's somehow a failure or something. I think that it is a concerning reflection on society and the direction that society is going in. What we're seeing happen with trends of loneliness and isolation and depression, anxiety, suicide, these things are all just on the rise. I don't fault any individual who's struggling with these conditions, though. I do think it's unfortunately a reflection of the values of our society and the direction that we're going in. We're more connected than we've ever been in the history of our species with technology, the internet, social media, etc. And yet people feel more alone and isolated than they've ever felt. I think there's some real issues there that we really need to take a look at and figure out. And unfortunately, it seems like we're just moving further and further in the wrong direction with things like, virtual reality and augmented reality and AI and all this stuff. This technology definitely has the capacity to make our world much better. And there are some very cool things being done. So I'm not trying to say that technology is bad, but like with anything that's very powerful and that has the potential to help and to heal, it has the potential to cause harm. And I think a lot of people who are exploiting it for profit, that result we're seeing is harm. And so definitely people are more and more moving in this direction, I believe, of loneliness and despair, isolation, and it's concerning. And I think it's important for people to do everything they know how to take good care of themselves, and when they need help, to get help before it gets too bad.
Absolutely. Ask for help when you feel that you need help. That's a fair point. Be that as it may, I'm sure a lot of people would like to understand more about this, learn more about this, and who better than that? So, what is the best way for people to learn more about this from you? And also those who would want to, take help of this new sort of a thing that can help them in whatever problems they are facing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I put my Instagram handle down here. It's right over there.
Right, right,
The
right.
Sam Mandel. It's on the screen. You can, follow me, message me. I'm on all the social media with that handle. I'm mostly active on Instagram and TikTok. Also, my website, ketaminclinics.com. That's KETAMINECLINICS.com. It's also down there in the name of the company. You can see the spelling of Ketamine Clinics there. So ketaminclinics.com. And a lot of good information. We offer free consultations. You can fill out a form or you can call us. The information is all on the website there. We're happy to speak with anyone who has any questions. There's no obligation. It's free and it's confidential. And if people are a good fit for treatment, or it seems like they might be, we can schedule a complimentary consultation with a clinician as well. And they can learn more about whether or not they want to go forward with treatment. So happy to talk to people, happy to help. I appreciate you for having me on here and, the opportunity to just, raise some awareness and educate people. And I hope that some of your listeners found it useful.
Absolutely, absolutely. As they say, individuals will find out for themselves. The whole idea is to have more conversations and about things that are happening in our, in this planet of ours. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.